Welcome to another video from Gradelink websites. In this tutorial, we're going to go through the steps necessary to set up a pop-up, just like this one. Pop-ups can be used for a variety of purposes, including announcing events, having even emergency announcements on your website, fundraising announcements, as well as anything else you could possibly think of. Now, you do want to use pop-ups wisely and set up the right settings so you don't annoy your site visitors, but they can be a highly engaging and effective way to communicate with both your existing parents or even with prospective families on your school website. So we're going to use this site as an example to set up a brand new pop-up. And first step would be to log into your site and get to the dashboard. Once you get to the dashboard, we're going to use the tool on the sidebar called Divi Overlays. We're going to click on that, and we're going to click Add New. Once you've added new, then the first order of business is to put in a title. So you can say Open House. Supposing it's an open house event. And we also want to click on the purple button to use the Divi Builder. This is going to enable us to fully customize our pop-up. Now, you can build a pop-up here from scratch. The tool does allow it. If you want to build one exactly like this with a custom black button as already styled, that requires a little bit of additional coding, and so we actually have a layout available. If you reach out to Gradelink website support, we can install or provide you with a pre-made layout for the pop-up, and you can then customize the settings. So we're going to go ahead and use that pre-made layout just to make sure that we have some of this outlined. It's simply a bit of code that places the close button in this specific place, because the default is for the close button to be in the far upper right hand corner, and it's not quite as visible. So to make a pop-up professional looking like this, and for the most effective user experience, we're going to use our pre-made layout. So when this pops up on our Divi layout, we're going to click on Build from Scratch. And we can then proceed with clicking on Load from Library. So click on the plus button to load from library. Go to your saved layouts tab up here. And we can see the customized layout here is loaded. So we're going to click on that and click on Use this layout. Now we can see we have a section and 2 rows, and within the first row, this is a bit of a hidden one, so you actually will get settings. So if we open up the code module, you'll see there's a whole bunch of code. It's important not to change any of it unless you know what you're doing. This is for the custom close button, so that's why it's a hidden module there. The second row is actually the contents of the module. So typically what we can do is we could put in a text module like this one, and it says now enrolling, or in this case I'm going to have it changed to open house. Click on the green check mark, and we also may have another bit of text here. And let's change this to say we're holding an open house on March 25th at 5 p.m. Interested? Click the button. below to register. Click the green check mark and save changes, and then we can also have a button. So we're using a button module for this. Register. And we can link over to a page, and this is a separate item, but you may want to create a page that this pop-up will link over to. So let's suppose that I've created an open house page in this case, and I'm linking over to it. So I can then click on the green check mark, make sure my link is working properly, and the link should open to in the same window if I'm linking to a page on the same website. If I'm linking to an external page, for example, sometimes donation fundraising, you want to link to an external fundraising page, you would then paste your link in here and make sure that you select in a new tab. I'm going to keep my settings the way they were. And the next bit is going to deal with settings over on the right hand side. So you can actually select a custom animation entrance. Typically the one we use is the standard zoom entrance, so there's a nice smooth zooming in of the pop-up as it enters, and then the exit is a back down, which looks somewhat like this. So you have a variety of different animations you can choose from. These are the standard ones that we typically choose, as they're not as jarring as some of the others. For instance, you probably might not want to use a rotating exit, as that could cause some consternation when people close a pop-up and it suddenly bounces around like a ball. For page layout, this Divi page settings, we typically want to put no sidebar just in case. And for display locations, you have a few options here. You can display this pop-up on all posts and pages. However, usually for pop-ups, because they do interfere with the interaction with the main website, we recommend that you only put pop-ups on specific pages. So if you select only specific pages, you'll then click into the field and type the names of the pages that you wish it to display on. For instance, home. Or if this pop-up is only intended on a specific page, I might put it on the Inquire Now page or the donation page or something like that. So it is strategic to place pop-ups on specific pages. For categories and tags, we don't typically use those. We don't need to touch the additional overlay settings. The close button cookie. This is a good setting to utilize effectively. If it's set to 0 days, that means that there will be no cookie, what we call a cookie, stored in the user's browser session. And it will show the pop-up for every user every single time. Now this could get annoying, especially if you have somebody visiting the website multiple times a day or possibly even multiple times a week, and every time they get a pop-up. So what you want to do is usually you want to set a cookie so that for a particular browser session, meaning there's a person using a device to access your website on that particular device, unless they're using incognito or private browsing, it can have it store a cookie so that once they close the pop-up window on your site, it will stay closed for however many days you set that cookie to be stored on. And the pop-up will not appear for that person if they use that same device to access your website again. If they use a different device, then the pop-up will show up and it'll store a cookie so that it won't show on that device again. So having this set up, usually we do it for at least a couple of days so that people don't get hit with the pop-up too often. You don't want to over-annoy your users. It also depends on the type of message. For instance, if you're using this as an announcement, you may want to set your close button cookie to 0 days because you want to remind people of the emergency. However, if it's a promotional or fundraising, you may want to decrease the amount of annoyance because people don't want to be affronted by pop-ups too many times. Set it to 2 to 3 days typically, or more if you think your users might be annoyed. So once you set that up, there's a couple of other options here. Now, if you are using the custom layout, you will want to check the box for hide main close button. Clicking outside the content, we don't need that. And customize close button, we don't need that either if we're using the customized layout with the code. If you're not using a customized layout and you're just building your own pop-up, then check the box for customize close button and you can customize text color, background color, etc. However, it will still appear all the way in the right-hand corner, which is not always ideal. Next bit is automatic triggers. If you have the pop-up and you want it to be set as time delay, you can specify the time delay in seconds, meaning if you set it for 5 seconds, it will appear on the pages that you specified for after 5 seconds have passed from the initial loading of the page. So once a user hits that page, it'll take 5 seconds for the pop-up to show up. If I put 5 seconds, you can also put 10 seconds, you could put longer. Typically you want it to be about anywhere from 3 to 10 seconds, depending on how long you expect people to hang around on that page. We typically leave these unchecked unless you only want the pop-up to show up on a particular type of device like desktop, tablets, and mobile. Display once per page load, we usually do check that box. And we can also have the ability here to set in start and end time. So this is helpful if you have a specific event that you're announcing and it has an end date and time. You can actually set the pop-up to expire automatically on a particular date and time. So for instance, if our open house is on the 25th at 5 p.m., we can set that to expire on March 25th at 5 p.m. So we'll click on the AM, just change it to PM, make it 5 p.m. You can also make it expire perhaps after the event is over. Let's say the event ends at 8 o'clock, so we can set it to expire on 8 p.m. All right, so at this point, our pop-up is entirely set up. Again, it doesn't take very long to set it up at all. We're simply going through all the settings in detail in case you wish to change any of these. The last setting before we publish is the background color. So this background color is referring to the area behind the actual pop-up. So in this case, there's no background color. It's completely transparent. You can make this area like opaque. You can do a blur if you wish. However, we usually recommend, if you're using the custom layout, that you just do a completely transparent background, which means clicking into select background color and then bringing the slider for the transparency all the way down to 0. We can then click on publish once we're ready to publish. If you wish to adjust the background color of the actual pop-up, then you would go into section settings, click on background, and we can do so. So if we want to make this a little bit grayer, we can do so. Click the green check mark to save changes. Now we're ready to publish, and let's head over to the Inquire page to see how that pop-up looks. We'll wait for it to publish before heading over. Now, one way you can easily preview it is click on the name of the school in the upper right-hand corner and open up a new tab. That'll bring us to the home page of the website. We're then going to navigate to the page, if it's not the home page, where the pop-up is supposed to show up, and we'll wait the delay amount of time for the pop-up to go. And there it goes. So we now have a nice pop-up that says Open House. We have a close button right here, and the cookie is set up so that it won't show up for 5 days. So now that I've closed it, it should recognize that, and if I reload the Inquire page, the pop-up should not show up anymore. that's all there is to this video. If you have any further questions, please feel free to reach out to Gradelink website support.